Hiroshi Sugimoto. One of the world's more renowned artists, portraying his concept and point of view to the rest of the world, he did his duty through his beautiful pieces of photography. Originally from Tokyo, the artist was some of the world's more sacred treasures, bringing extraordinary events and perspectives to them and embedding them into our history. Starting off from his roots, Hiroshi was not one to be known with the arts back in home in Tokyo. Born in 1948, throughout his childhood, Sugimoto had always been a conceptual person, meaning he would always dive deeper to find the right meaning or true meaning of a subject or event. When he entered high school, he first learned about cameras, film cameras, where he joined a class to help film plays, shows, and theatrical performances. Then he quickly found a new passion through that as well, photography. After high school, when leaving for college, Sugimoto had continued his studies in philosophy and intellect, since it was his passion, though during this time, André Breton influenced him in writing and diving deeper into photography. Hiroshi was now dead set on picking up a camera once again in college to pursue his life's purpose, preserving historical events or capturing unbelievable views through photography. His gateway to the path of preservation had soon primarily become photography, where he continued to preach the importance of one's point of view, where it could be completely different how one person could take a shot and another person could take a shot, and the events or the results would be completely different. This philosophical theory then led Hiroshi to continue his 30-plus year career. Diving deeper, this one short film showed up where it described Sugimoto's childhood and entrance into the art of photography. It displayed how, when coming to America and switching his career to full-time photography, he was able to complete his life's purpose and answer the true philosophical question he had set for himself. How was point of views different from one person to another? Later down his career, Sugimoto discussed in a short film that for him, cameras were a gateway to preserve his thoughts and point of view, to embed into our history, where it was his chance to mark his impact on society. Observing one of his fewer art pieces, these were considered more minimalistic and monotone, where they were abstract art. Looking for photographical styles, we can see how he chose to center the subject, all while keeping the lighting the same as before. He made sure to use the concept of time exposure experiments, where he could take as many photos as he would want with different shutter speeds to try to find the perfect match. And this concept, though back then had never been mastered by other photographers. The uniqueness of the background adds to the abstract pieces because they are almost reversed, where the background would be a reverse color than the subject. He continued to use the spectrum of black and white, where he thought for them to be a spectrum of different colors, not just a single dead set color. Between these two photos, we can see how he used the black and white spectrum to differentiate his subject and his background from the rest of the piece. Going into some of his more historical portraits, Sugimoto was not always known for his portraits, though he had taken portraits of the royal family, such as Princess Diana of Wales, Fidel Castro, and Anne of Cleves, and one of his more famous pieces, Queen Elizabeth II, where we will discuss that later. With most of these portraits, we can observe how he continued his monotonistic theme, developing how he wanted to portray the subjects through his own point of view. We could see he had made proper use of lighting techniques where both subjects' faces were completely lit and easy to understand their facial expressions, all while making sure to keep their bodies lit, but the facial expression is the highlight of the shot. Another tidbit to notice is how Sugimoto continued to use a spectrum of colors, so-called black and white, where there were multiple colors that he could choose from to make sure that his subject stood out. He yet again used reverse coloring, where his subjects were a different color and then his background would be the reverse of that color. With black and white, he would try to keep his subjects more lighter colored and his background more darker. This style of photography continued throughout all of his pieces, including his exposure experimentation, where no photographer could get the perfect shot in the first take. Sugimoto continued to use that to his advantage to try to take as many photos as possible to get the right shot. Lastly, we're going to be viewing one of his more passionate photographic styles, where he had always found a love for taking photos of abandoned or historical theaters or movie theaters. Basically, this linked back to his childhood where he had originally started. Like his philosophical views, to portray his point of view and embed them into our history, Sugimoto continued to use the fact that he could take unlimited photos to his extremist advantage with the current given technology, getting the right lighting and exposure after multiple takes. Something to notice in these photos is more of his patterns are visible, where leading lines and then to his main target, and then his subject is also completely centered. If these photos had not come out the way that Sugimoto had imagined in his head, he would continue to retake a shot again and again and again, striving for excellence. We can see these results where these are extremely well done, where even in a darker lit environment, we can see that the entire subject is completely visible and how the leading lines or the background is also quite visible. And he continued to use this to his advantage to portray and embed into our history. Hiroshi will always be known for striding in excellence, where his point of view of philosophical ideas, mostly a style of monotonic art, had come from the full use of the color spectrum, black and white. His last portrait was of the Queen of England in 1999, Elizabeth II, where Sugimoto was extremely fortunate to work with many such individuals of higher caliber, and bring his philosophies and photography to them to portray for the rest of the world to gaze on. Sugimoto had since slowed down on his career and has taken a step back to rest and enjoy his adulthood, though his pieces will never be forgotten. They currently sell for tens of thousands of dollars because of his extreme precision that went into getting the right shot. He will always be remembered for his such high extreme precision and valued art work pieces. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.